Hey guys, my name's Emily, and today I'll be showing you a demonstration on your own handwriting. So the first thing we're going to need are the materials, and all you'll be needing is a blank sheet of paper and a writing utensil of some sort. Make sure that it's blank and that it doesn't have any lines on it, or you won't get as accurate of a analysis. All right, so the first thing we need to do is to write a sentence. And this is the sentence that we will be analyzing. So take a few moments and write down this whole thing. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the emotional energy. This determines how the person feels while writing and the amount of pressure applied to the writing instrument. So this determines how dark the ink is. So the first writing example on the slide is an example of heavy writing. And so a person who is heavy-handed is described as highly successful, puts a lot of energy into their experiences. They have a strong hold of emotional experience as well. If this person has a more medium pressure, that's indicated by the middle example, that person can be described as moderately successful, puts moderate amounts of energy into the experiences, and a moderate hold of emotions. And the last writing sample is an example of light pressure. And a person who writes lightly doesn't put much energy into anything and doesn't store emotions. The next thing that we're going to look at is the writing angle and slant of your writing. So this is indicated by a right slant, a vertical slant, or a left slant. And the writing slant / angle can also determine the writer's response to external stimulus. So let's first look at the right slant. A person who has a right slant has a strong response to emotional stimulus. They're outgoing, they're warm, caring, and their heart rules their mind. That's indicated by the first sample of writing on the right side of the slide. Next, we're going to look at a vertical slant, and that is a person who keeps control over their emotional stimulus. Their mind rules their heart, and that could be seen in the second writing sample. And lastly, we're going to look at a left slant. A person who has a left slant conceals their emotions, and they may appear cold or indifferent. And that can be seen in the last two writing samples. Next, we're going to look at the emotional control and reliability. This is shown in the baseline of the writing, and it is the line where the words are written. This can be seen on unlined paper. That's why it's important that you write this on blank paper rather than lined paper, so this can be analyzed. And it can also be determined by drawing a line under each word. So if you're not seeing it very well visually, you can start by drawing a line as they have in the upper left examples, and then it can help you determine which writing style you have. So it can be classified as straight, wavy, or erratic. If your writing is slightly wavy, that is indicated as normal control, and that is the first example on the left side. And if your writing is straight, then that could indicate an over-disciplined or tense writing. And the last one, erratic, it indicates an emotional roller coaster. It's kind of all over the place. Another 3 ways we can identify this writing is by slope. So that is either an upward slope, a descending slope, or having no slope. And this analyzes the entire sentence. This is not just individual words. So an upward slope can indicate a person is very optimistic, and that can be seen in the writing sample, I feel good today. The first one in that section is an upward slope. Next, we're going to look at a descending slope. This can mean the person is pessimistic, depressed, or tired, and that can be seen at the third writing sample. And finally, no slope. This is a person who is balanced between pessimism and optimism, and that is the middle sample. And so you can look at the writing on the far right, and that is actually a writing sample of Charles Manson. And you can see if you look towards the bottom of that writing sample, it becomes more erratic, definitely not writing in a concise straight line, and you could definitely see a lot of emotion in his writing. Next, we're going to look at concentration. And this is based on the size of the writing and is indicated by small, average, or large size. So let's look at the small. A person who writes small concentrates very well. They're focused on minor details, not easily distracted, and prefer to work alone. They're also conservative and thrifty. An example of small handwriting is the writing sample on the left side. Next, we're going to talk about average. So an average writing size can indicate a person has average concentration. They have a little bit of forced concentration on the minor details. And if a person has large handwriting, that could indicate that they're easily distracted, often lose focus, and they're good at shorter assignments. So the writing sample on this slide is actually a sample of Albert Einstein's writing. And the next thing that we're going to look at is the zone analysis. And this is where most of the writing is located. So zone analysis is dependent on emotional energy and shows 3 different areas of thought. So you're going to have the upper zone, the middle zone, and the lower zone. The upper zone is going to indicate philosophical imagination. That is the first writing sample on this page. The middle zone is the baseline and going to indicate daily activities. That is the second writing sample. And the third writing sample is an example of the lower zone, which is practical imagination. Now, what do these things mean? So, the upper zone, the philosophical imagination, are people who are daydreamers, they have intellectual thoughts, and are abstract thinkers. The middle zone are people who think on day-to-day life and daily concerns such as paying bills, caring for their family, and work. The lower zone are for people who have practical imagination, which is driven by material and physical things and also physical abilities. The next thing we're going to look at is the spacing between letters. And the spacing could either be average, close together, or irregular. So the spacing between letters is going to indicate the confidence of the writer. If you have average spacing, the person is going to be self-confident, at ease, and comfortable. If the writing is more close together, this could indicate a person has lower self-esteem and could be a little self-conscious. The first writing sample on this slide indicates close together letter spacing. And irregular is a person who's more confused, mixed up, and uncertain. And that can be seen as the second example of writing on this slide. The next thing we're going to look at is the spacing between the actual words. And this determines the comfort this person has around other people. And this is indicated by close spacing or distant spacing. So the first example on this slide is of close spacing. And that's when a person feels comfortable around others and doesn't mind crowds. The second example is distance spacing. And this is a person who usually avoids others and has a difficult time dealing with others. Next thing we're going to look at is the specific letters M, N, and R. And these determine intelligence and thought processing. So these can be seen as sharp pointed tops, rounded tops, or flat tops. The sharp pointed tops are for people who are smart, quick to understand, and can remember. And this is shown by the first example on this slide. A person who has rounded tops indicates slow, methodical thinkers who are creative and don't jump to conclusions. This can be seen by the middle example on this slide. And lastly, flat tops are people who cannot be creative or learn quickly. They're usually lazy, can also indicate deception or an attempt to hide something, and they do not want to communicate. And that is an example of the last writing sample on this slide. And you can see between these three, the last one is much more difficult to read and understand than the other two. And finally, we're going to look at the writing speed. And the writing speed is very important. This can say a lot about a person. So this is indicated by fast, average, or slow speed. A person who writes fast can be determined as someone who's impatient, spontaneous, aggressive, quick thinkers, and also ambitious. And this can be seen by the first writing sample on this slide. An average speed is a person who is more of a slow thinker. They're organized, creative, and cautious. This can be seen as the middle writing sample. And lastly, we have the slow speed, which is the third example on this slide. And a person who has a slow speed lacks determination and ambition, and they have a lack of mental capacity. All right, so that is all of the areas that we look at when we're analyzing handwriting. And you can always try this exercise again with different writing utensils such as pens, colored pencils, and compare to see if you have different writing styles depending on the materials. You can also use this to analyze your friends and family's handwriting to see any similarities or differences between your handwriting and theirs. All right, so that's all I have for you for today for this presentation. Hope you have a nice day. Bye.